Welcome back to Donald Kent Art. I am so stoked for tonight's show. This is fabulous. I am proud to have as my guest tonight a man whom I consider one of the most important people in the white identity movement for his research and presentation on the history and ideology of fascism, third position politics, and also the Jewish question. He has been creating content since 2006 and now is publishing books in his field of expertise. The topic of fascism or third position is greatly maligned and greatly misunderstood. So today's show will focus on clarifying its true meaning. I urge everyone watching this broadcast to visit the links below, bookmark his channel, and go through his presentations. You will soon realize that we are meant to be so much more than what we currently are, and that third position is the way forward. So, with a warm heart, I am very proud to introduce my audience to my friend, Cultured Thug. How are you, sir?
Hey, Donald, thanks for that great introduction. I am doing fine. Like we're speaking earlier, it's great to touch base with you again. And I'm happy to be here and get this conversation going. Because, like you said, since 2006, I've been doing this and I will never get tired of speaking and advocating for third position politics.
Yeah, and you're so good at it too. It's
I
I
appreciate that.
I can remember discovering your channel. I think it was YouTube, but I would say your Rumble channel is really the place to go. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've uploaded most of all the old videos there, and I don't suspect they'll get banned anytime soon.
Okay.
There's a couple YouTube channels that re-uploaded my videos that you
Mhm.
can still find on YouTube,
Okay.
Odyssey, BitChute. Like there was channels and re-uploads everywhere. But yeah, Rumble is currently where if I do anything new, which I haven't made an educational video like over 5 years now, but
Mm,
if I do a stream or anything like that or a quick video, I'm doing it on my Rumble page typically
excellent.
nowadays.
Yes. So this is the page right here. Take a good look. You're definitely going to want to bookmark this page. There is so much just pure gold in here. This is a treasure trove of amazing, like the work that you've done to research all of these aspects of it. It's amazing. The history is so broad. There's so many different sort of philosophers and political figures, so many different topics to cover. Real quick here, I see the video on Kai Moros. He's a close personal friend, and I just emailed him a link to this show before we got
Uh,
started.
Kai Muros is such a good guy that
Oh,
I've spoken with him only a couple times and we've done interviews with him. But
mm,
when I was trying to create this kind of populist, fascist light group, let's call it,
mhm,
called New Frontier, and I was
yeah,
trying to, with the idea of trying to make a splash in the mainstream media, like just shock the system with, oh my God, the fascists have finally shown up. Now,
yeah,
unfortunately, that crumbled and nothing came from that. But I remember Kai Muros, we were selling books, and we were talking about his book on modern revolution.
mm,
And Kai Muros told us, you could sell my book. I don't need a cent from it. If
yeah,
you're selling it and getting it out there, like he gave us that permission. I thought, like, this is a dude, this is too rare in this scene. This
yeah,
is someone who's truly passionate about this. He's not in it, to make the shekel. He's not in it with a, dropping the link every go, buy me a coffee, all that. He's like, sell my book. I don't need a cent from it. Just get the message out there on modern revolution and how to do it. And so I've always like when people make moves like that and show character,
yeah.
that fine. Like I always appreciate that in a man because it's too few and rare these days, I feel.
Mm,
But yeah,
mm,
a great man and a true person who's passionate about this and has dedicated his whole life to it.
yeah, yeah. It's so the period of time where people discover the white identity movement and then start going down that rabbit hole is such an exciting period in one's life where you're unfolding all these truths. You're learning about all these amazing speakers, you being one, all these ideas, the history of how all of these things connect, and then the insanity of realizing how we've been psyoped, how we were living in a kind of a bubble that's keeping us, the sort of matrix analogy, et cetera, that's keeping us from realizing who we really are and reaching our full potential, which is what third position is all about. So this is a
Indeed.
amazing, amazing endeavor. And again, I just really have like so much love and honor for both you and Kai. I definitely think you're, on great leaders and people that inspire us in this movement. So,
Donald, I appreciate that
yeah.
so much. But like when you're talking about these videos or in the book breakdown videos,
Mhm.
I remember 2001 when I picked up Mein Kampf for the first time. I
Mhm.
was into like serial killers at the time. I read a book on Ted Bundy. I was always interested, like, why makes these people snap? What makes them do this?
Right,
And
right.
then I remember, like, after I read that, I was like, I still want to dive into the mind of evil. I was like, who's the most evil person ever? Well,
Right.
Adolf Hitler, of course. So, oh, you wrote a book? Oh, I get to dive into this mind of evil. Oh my God. I was feeling like I was going to pick up the Satanic Bible. So
Wow.
when I got it, I started reading it. And of course, it changed my whole world since that day and it set me
Wow.
on this path. But that self-education showed me, like, oh, I don't even know history. And that's why I started reading all these books. Like, now I need to know. I know what school taught me. I know
Yeah,
what K through 12 teaches. I know what the university teaches, but what else is out there?
sure.
So I started that self-education and I couldn't stop. And that's when you realize how much of our
Yeah.
history you do not know, how much they've lied about to us. And we
Horrible.
don't know our past. So how in
Yeah.
the hell can we know who we really are
Yes.
if we don't know who we were and where we came from? And so that's why that set me on this mission of doing all these videos on these different characters, philosophies,
Mhm.
and books, is because I was hoping, like, how it reinvigorated me and gave me fire and gave me a cause, like it would
Mhm.
do that to other people, like it would affect them the same way it affected me. And like I said, that's changed my whole life. And as you know, this in this scene, it's not you're not going to get very popular, very rich, or
Yeah.
anything. But
Yeah.
I will trade all of that for knowing I am on like a true mission. I am on a right cause, and I did it through my own self liberation. Like I took the shackles off that matrix you're talking about that we're
Yes.
all born
Yes.
into, and that if we don't self educate, we'll never know we were in that matrix. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
kind of started the bug for me, and then I just wanted to uh, spread it as much as I can to everyone. I wanted them to get pissed off to me, like how much you've been lied to, how much of
Mhm.
your life was a myth, and where they're
Mhm.
taking you. Like I wanted
Mhm.
that same fury that was burning in me, like hopefully to burn in my fellow citizens as well.
Yes. This is, I think, a good example of a true fascist man, that you take the bull by the horns, that you take the reins, that you see that we're living in a time, perhaps the best time in history, to live a life filled with meaning, to gain honor on our deathbed for the great fight that we're doing, that the cause that we're dedicating ourselves to. And so, like, you're having produced all of this amazing content, going through the books, making it understandable for the common person. You did the hard work. Like, you're essentially a deep space traveler coming back with all this beautiful information that is allowing everybody else to fuel their journeys into the Western kind, and learning who are we truly. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and
Very.
I truly do think third position is our salvation. I think nothing like unless under that model that brings us the revolutionary energy in the direction that we so desperately need these days.
Mhm, mhm,
So
mhm,
that's
mhm.
why I'll continue, like, to the day I die, being an advocate for it, pushing for it,
Beautiful.
whatever means on a shoestring budget I can to try
Yes.
to push it more into reality.
So just imagine if each of us had, hundreds of millions of dollars, what we could do with our talents and abilities. And look at how our enemies they print money, and then they use all this, our tax money, etc., to control the narrative. Really, really let that sink in. Control of the narrative. When you don't know who you are, you're easily manipulated. We become the cattle that they say we are. And so, break your chains. Do not be the goy that they believe you to be. And so this is a really great segue into our conversation. So the mission in this show is once and for all to define fascism. Now, there's a lot of it's a deep, deep, deep topic. And this is just going to be, a short hour or so. So we can't go that deep, which is why you should go to Cultured Thugs, both his Rumble channel and his bookstore, which I'm going to show you the link. The link is in the show notes as well. And so this is the beginning of your journey. But let me just say here, so I've been in countless debates online trying to explain to people what the true meaning of fascism is, to correct their misuse of it in the hope that it'll put a crack in the matrix, split the false dichotomy of Democrat versus Republican. It's all left and right, and enlighten people to the third position. I always tell them that when they use the word fascist, what they really mean to say is authoritarian or totalitarian, but that fascism itself is not these things that they're saying. I reference Giovanni Gentile. I basically say, think of a political ideology that makes God, family, and nation first. What would that be? So let's get into some questions here, and you can elucidate this. This is your field of expertise. So could you give us a brief description of what fascism actually is, and then we'll go into more detail during the show.
Well, unfortunately, and this has been the complication over the years, there's no such thing as a brief explanation.
All right, that's it. Show's over. Goodbye.
Show's over. So like the first thing I would hope people would notice as if they looked at the videos on the Culture Thug page would be when you see third position rise in different countries, like there's certain universal tenets, but then it's very organic as to the people and the nation and the blood where it comes from, right? So culture is very impactful, how it's different. As fascism was different in Italy, then in Germany, then in Spain, then in Argentina, right? Then in Syria and Iraq, etc. It's the third position spread forever. So let's start like how this even started. So fascism is just the Italian branch of third position ideology, and it became the all catch term for all third position. And unfortunately, like you explained, it's nothing but a pejorative these days. It means nothing. It just means everything you hate. So I used to say just to be defiant, because you would always see people like, you're a fascist. No, I'm not. You're a fascist. And I'd get sick of it. I'm like, no, I'm the fascist. So I would call myself fascist just to be that odd person that would put his face and name out there and actually say, no, I'm a fascist. You want to talk to a fascist? That's me. But it's truly third position. And this is how, especially with normies and everyone else, I've learned, like if the term fascism doesn't come up and you just start speaking about the tenets of third position, they're usually agreeing with you on when you're speaking these things. So let's go to mid 1800s France, where this starts. This is where third position starts to form. So you have the first position, which is liberal capitalism, democratic liberal capitalism. You have the second position, which is Marxian socialism. So the crisis of capitalism and the bourgeois and all of that was dominating the European scene. And socialism, Marxist socialism, was not an adequate answer to bourgeois liberal capitalism. And it had good critiques of it, but it was not a good solution to dealing with it. So then you started having, and this is what's very interesting about the creation of third position. It comes from anarchist, nationalist, Marxian socialist, syndicalist. It was people starting to understand, okay, our goal needs to be the destruction of this system. And we need to form something that destroys this system first and foremost, a revolutionary party around that. So you had this collection of different ideologies coming together. And then as we get towards late 1800s France, you have different philosophers, Georges Sorel kind of speaking on it, who influences Mussolini. So the ideology starts coming. So how do we rebel against liberal capitalism? Well, first, okay, we have a collectivist ideology, which means we have to be nationalist. Wherever you see third position grow, it is a nationalist ideology. We also have a collective economic belief, that is socialism, which is a maligned word. The Marxists have, really, I guess, besmirched the name of socialism. You think of blue hair trannies every time you hear socialism now,
Sure.
which is the opposite of what socialism is. So it was a collectivist mentality built around the people as a revolt to the individualistic preachings of liberal capitalism and the international teachings of Marxist socialism. So the commies and the haters say, third position is reactionary. They are right in that sense. It was a reaction to the failures of liberal capitalism and of the failures of Marxian socialism. And then the main tenets of it became collectivist nationally. It had to be a nationalist ideology. It had to be collectivist economically, because it's all about the community. And then the one aspect of third position that was missing everywhere else, that truly, like, like, this is it for me. It was building of the new man. Every ideology, doesn't matter if we're talking about the integralists in Brazil or the National Socialists in Germany, they all had the ideal of we're building this new man, and it's going to come through strength. It's going to come through struggle. It's going to come through overcoming. Right. So right now, I would argue we're living in the curse of the conquered. Right. The white race has done great throughout the world, and we've had all this material comfort and wealth and all of that. And now look how weak we are. Look how we're getting killed and dominated. And you're watching white kids die and white girls get raped, and their parents come on there and be like, it's not race. It's not about race, right? Doing this, it's like we are now become weak. Third position would never allow their mass to become that, because there's always striving. There's always a goal. The economy is not geared towards straight consumerism. It's geared towards great goals. Are we going to different planets? Are we going deeper into the ocean everywhere? Are we diving into spirituality more than we ever have? Like, great goals is what the economy is built around, not this mindless consumerism. Here's 100 different sugary cereals. Here's 200 different fast food joints to hit. It's like, this is not in the third position's mind. It's like, I feel like I'm robbed of my one existence in this life of hedonism and materialism and consumerism. Because if you're just telling me my life is just to live like an animal for my pleasures, then what is even the point of being alive then? I could have just been nothing forever, and that would have been fine. But no, we have a much more of a purpose in our life. And this is what third position gives. It gives you that purpose in that respect. So but as I said, the Italians, they express it in their own way. The Germans express it in their own way. But the universal tenet it was a rejection of the first two positions, and it was community based. So it always had to be nationalistic, it had to be authoritarian, and it had to be socialistic. And then, like I said, the most important factor was building up the masses. And you saw that in every third position group with the youth movements and all of that. There was no fat kids in the Hitler Youth, right? Now you look at America, it's heartbreaking what's happening to the kids and what they look like and what they're grown into, right? A true leader in government that cared about its own people would never let that happen to its own people. And this is, I think, getting these things over. I've had success and being able to, when you break it down parcel by parcel, it's usually hard for people to like have big disagreements with what you're talking about. And this is why I think they fear it and censor it and everything. Like, I've been getting censored forever, and I was never breaking any violations. I was just, regurgitating books.
Yep. It's wild. There's so many things that you're saying here, and at such a breakneck speed. Let me back up and consolidate a couple ideas. So nationalism, it sounds to me that the fascism, rather the third position, because we don't really want to use the word fascism. That's not correct. That's just the Italian brand, of which there were many brands. So let's start using the word third position. Anytime someone says, "Oh, you fascist," "Oh, that's so fascist," blah blah blah. Elon Musk is a fascist.
I wish.
I know. Anyway, so back out and say, okay, the proper term is third position, and nationalism, economic collectivism, and build the new man are the three tenets. Is that correct?
These are the three universal tenets that are synonymous with third position. Like, you say, how can you recognize third position? It's those three things that separate it from the first and second positions, amongst many other things. But I'm saying, if we're going to talk about universal basic, it would be there.
Okay, excellent. Ironically, those are three things, so 3P, right? That's kind of fun.
Well, let me just read you this quote real fast from Giovanni Gentile. And I love to Americanize his name. People always, he's Gentile, CT. A, I'm American. And B, I love saying Gentile over and over again. But this is at the core. And this is what, even when I created my own groups, this is what members were missing. And this is like, you have to be a fanatic. Okay, you cannot be third position and not be a fanatic. You can't be, I'm just the middle of a line fascist. No, you have to be a fanatic. That is part of it. So this is, and I think this quote, this gets at the core of what third position is. Now, Giovanni Gentile says, this is from the Origins and Doctrines of Fascism. He goes, fascism was not an association of believers, but a party of action that had need not of programs of particulars, but an idea that indicated a goal and thereby a way to be followed with resolute will that refused to acknowledge obstacles because ready to overcome them. Now, this is at the core and why we need this. It gathers all this chaotic energy and puts it into a single direction. And this is what we're missing in this country. We're like chickens with our heads cut off. We're arguing about this, that. No, there's only one big hurdle in our way, and that is the system today. And nothing changes if that system remains in power. So the goal should be replacing by any means necessary that system. Third position does that. It brings that chaotic energy that's going in 100 different directions, and it focuses it in one direction. And that's what we're missing. And until something like that starts formulating in real life, we're not even in this fight, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, brilliant. You pointed out this term, party of action, resolute will. That brings to mind the concept of will to power.
Yes.
You know, and I mean the whole of Western civilization is our will, you know, the white will, if you want to call it. I think white will could be a whole meme in itself. What a brilliant concept. Get into, like, look at all the things that we've done. Where would the world be if all white civilizations, all white countries kept all of our technology, medicine, ideas, everything, arts, architecture to ourselves, and forbade all other cultures to use them? The rest of the world would still be living centuries ago. You know, it'd be living in in squalor in many cases. But I wanted to continue. Now, here's one of the difficult topics. This is sort of like, here's the rub type deal. Authoritarianism. So, like I said earlier, when people misuse the word fascism, I always say, oh, you mean to say authoritarianism. So, for example, our government is authoritarian. You know, it's been forcing, democracy on other countries militarily for years, blah, 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 blah. There's many cases. So what do you mean? You know, of course, I'm trying to educate them, trying to engage them. But here, I want to share my thought, and then you can correct me or expand on it. In the context of third position, authoritarianism is, in my view, a kind of like national parenting. Like it's a type of fathering of the nation, a fathering of the people, to say, you know, this is what's right, this is what's wrong, don't do what hurts you. A father has authority over the home and is the final say on the discipline of the children. And so you need that. You can't have children running wild, undisciplined, doing all kinds of terrible things, and then the house is in chaos. No, the father has that. Of course, the mother can too. But I'm just saying, is this concept connected in any way to fascism? Or
very much so, and that's exactly how you could describe it as well, is because it is like that father telling you, no, you can't eat candy for breakfast. You have to have some protein and some carb. You have to have something good for you, right? So it is exactly that. It's not so even though the definitions, people argue totalitarian isn't quite. I would say there's a difference between authoritarian and totalitarian is how they explain it. Totalitarian is this dominant, top-down, micromanaging everything rule, where third position is not. It works in corporations. It segments off responsibility because it's more effective that way instead of central planning everything. It's more of a regulated market than a central planning type deal. So it would be different in that sense. But yes, it is. You have to have, at the end of the day, we don't believe in parliamentary politics at all. Decisions have to come down to one man, or let's say three men in a council, etc. It has to come down to limited amount of people who are entrusted with, and hopefully surround themselves with the right people to help him make that right decision. So we are authoritarian in that sense. We believe in a leader, a dictator that dictates the way forward. And we support it. And how do we know it's going wrong? When he gets replaced and killed and whatnot, because it's quite obvious in a third position society to see corruption. Our authoritarianism today is hidden. It's like the wizard in behind Wizard of Oz, right? It's behind the curtain. It's like, oh, we're freest. We're democratic. We're so free. And while they're shoving these things down your throat. So it's this fake. I would say this is more totalitarianism, right? It's this fake thing. And I would say people that, they're like, I believe in democracy because, I'm afraid of, the tyrant. Well, I'd say democracy creates the worst tyrant of all history, and that is the tyranny of the masses. There is nothing more ugly than having the mass psychology be at the head of your decisions, because that is pure self-interest at the end of the day. That's why these snake oil salesmen, i.e. politicians, feed off of that, because it feeds on personal interest. And I think Gasset Spanish philosopher Gasset had a great book, Man and the People, where he spoke about like how the mob is the worst tyrant of all because it's all lower instinct. Like that's mass psychology. That's what these politicians speak to. It's the lower instinct. And unfortunately, no one is above that. It's been working through politics for thousands of years.
I couldn't add more to that. I think democracy is a total shit system. It's in a sense almost made for corruption.
It's made to split a country up. I mean,
yeah,
by itself.
Right. Well done. So because the again, we're talking dialectic here. So the word dictator, we want a dictator. Well, as the same way that a corporation wants a CEO that is going to keep the company in order and that everybody is gaining and blah blah blah, that everything's working properly. So not dictator in the cartoon sense of the word, and someone who's not an absolute dictator in the sense that they're there for life, but rather if they fail to do what's right for the children of the nation, the populace, then get rid of them and put someone else in. So,
real fast, I just see someone's comment was asking the Spaniard I named, Jose Ortega Gasset. Man and the People is one of his book. Something of the Masses, Revolt of the Masses is another great book from him. But those two books, like if people want to like dive into why mass psychology and all of that is why the tyranny of the masses is the worst tyranny. Like those are two great books, philosophical books that break it down. I've also did a video, shameless plug for my own channel, Gustav Le Bon's Psychology of the Masses, which I think is one of the best things written that broke down, was it 1700s he wrote this, late 1700s, about mass psychology and how to manipulate it.
Okay, wow. It's such a profound topic. There's so much. So let's move on. Again, the mission again is defining fascism. It's driving me nuts because I get in every single chance that I can to correct people, and people are constantly tossing this word around on the internet everywhere, every day. So let me ask another question. If you could make an argument for, again, quote, fascism, rather third position, with both a liberal and a conservative, what would your talking points be?
If I'm speaking them at the same time or at different times?
Well, one and then the other.
Yeah, well, obviously, if I'm going conservative, I'm going to have to go law and order and nationalism, focusing on those, focusing on kind of a collaboration of the classes instead of like the Marxian wipe all the classes out. We don't believe in that. We believe in collaboration of the classes, bridging the gap, between the classes, more so than eradicating all the classes. So focusing on that. And then, of course, with the leftists, I'd go to the collectivist economics and go to we believe in you put into the system, you get back from the system. That's part of how it works. It's kind of the old ancient, truest form of how humans came together in our ancient times in the villages. Everyone contributed it and everyone got back from it. So kind of that mentality. So I've had success on both avenues. I've gone to Republican meetups back in 2016 with Trump. I was like heavily on the whole Trump thing there, and I was going to Republican things, and I was getting good success with these boomers, like speaking on those. And then during college, I remember in philosophy class, I remember these two Marxist kids, because I had read philosophy. I was in prison all those years reading all these books, and I just jump into college, and this was like kids play. And they're like, hey, can you stay after class and help us with, I forget what we're doing in philosophy class. And then they're telling me they're Marxists. And I was like, okay, this is like 2005, right? So this is a very long time ago. But I remember I was like, let me test my rhetoric with these people if they don't know I'm a fascist. And I was speaking about, and I went from economics to nationalism, and the kids were just nodding their head. I was like, would you believe I just explained fascism to you, Marxist? And you both agreed with it. So sure. I've actually, like, if you could keep that pejorative term out of their mind for a second. And like usually when I meet people, like if they get to know me, like, okay, he's a decent guy, then they start listening to you. That's something big too that we kind of miss on the internet because we're so quick to insult or call people stupid or this or that. It's usually if you approach someone decently, they will start listening to you and take your opinions seriously too.
Boy.
And I've had a lot of success with that in personal conversations where people know me like, oh, he's not an asshole. He's not a this. He's not a that. He's a pretty solid dude. Oh, he's got some weird politics. What's this? So it's a lot of that combined with knowing your audience, knowing like where you should focus on trying to bring them along. Because it's very rare you could just say, hey, fascism. They're like, hell yeah. And they're right on board, right? Especially, we're kind of like ancient Rome. They had a period of time when the kings had passed that there was this big fear of a king always coming. In America, we're the same thing, because if we revolted against a king, we are like so hyperbolic towards any kind of dictator or single leader or strongman figure or anything like that. But I've noticed as you speak to people, most people do want a strongman figure. And most people know that's what we need to lead us. We do need Caesar types, not politicians. So I've found success and you'll even see in the communist internet scene. There's big communist party now, American Communist Party, I think they're called. I don't know what they're called, but you see them still fighting and trying to out members in their group that liked my videos or said positive things about me and things like that. So it's like I've even seen on the internet how I've broken through and they're like, wow, well, I might not agree with everything that CT says, but he's definitely a real fascist and he definitely hates capitalism. He definitely hates the system. So I found a lot of success. And that's why I was, talking to you off cam. I'm going to be writing in the next few years. And then I'm quietly going to try to expand and maybe I'll be stomped to death for it. Maybe they'll never accept me because of my anti-Semitism or race realism. I don't know, but we can't be in this little echo chamber. It's not going anywhere. We're going to need something much bigger to combat this system. So I've been expanding my wings or trying to for years. I've had success, but I've only dipped my toes into it. I need to go fully into it and not care what this echo chamber thinks about me for doing it. And, I'm going to commit myself. I think I have to. I don't see anything else, man. I've done activism every single way you can think of on a shoestring budget. I just going into official politics is the only thing I haven't. So I think, unfortunately, I don't want to. I just want to grill, but we got to do something.
Well, I mean, I'm right there with you, and I would dare to say that there's an enormous amount of people that are burned out and need something new and fresh. And I've always been aiming outside of like how can we reach the normies? And and I said off camera, I'll say just very briefly that I think one of the problems with our movement is the kind of how people that are younger tend to have a really strong high school lunchroom culture where they just kind of like henpeck each other into order and call each other fag and like you can't. It's so echo chamber, and it's not going to be palatable for normal people outside of the far right, a dissident right. So we need adults to step up and take the microphone away and get in there, but that's a whole other show. We could do another show on that topic.
It doesn't seem this scene takes it as serious as it is. I do think we are like in a civilization crisis. We are at the end of it. Like we're in our lifetime, people will be chipped in our lifetime, and willingly. We saw COVID was a great test to see how many people willingly get chipped in our lifetime. And this is not hyperbolic. If anyone thinks this is hyperbolic, I beg you to look into this. In our lifetime, we could stop producing babies naturally. Our sperm counts, if they keep declining at the rate they're declining, generation by generation, we will literally be in Huxley's Brave New World making babies in test tubes because we cannot naturally make them anymore. This is not hyperbolic. This is scientific fact that no one speaks about. So it's like we have to act more desperate. Our problem is, and this is my only black pill, we are still way too materially comfortable. And unfortunately, humans in mass, they don't want to take any risk until they're really hurting materially. And I just wish we could get ahead of the curve, because there's going to come a time you're not going to be able to revolt when you got chips in you, when there's drones everywhere. There's cameras flying all over the place.
Robot.
There's not going to be a time to revolt. So it's like we better do it sooner than later, because I do think in our lifetime, we're going to see such a lockdown and consolidation of power that we're not going to be able to do anything about it. This tech age is very scary. It's coming very fast, and most will comply.
Yes. I'm 1,000% on the same page with you. This is the kind of stuff that I talk about frequently on my art streams, etc. So like it really feels strongly like you and I need to talk more and figure out what we could possibly do to collaborate. And obviously, people in our spheres can maybe come together. Let me continue with the questions because I knew I knew there'd be a lot going on. It's exciting to talk, and there's so much, and it's so vital that we get through this stuff and we figure things out. But let's pull it back a little bit here. I want to say that I feel that the misuse of the word fascism is actually a Marxist dialectic ploy, and that it's not by accident that people use that word falsely. I could be wrong, but this is my theory, is that we know that anti-fascists, or what we call Antifa, was originated by the Jews in, perhaps the 1930s, sometime around then. And it was a communist organization that obviously terrorized and fought against violently nationalists and third positionists, etc. And so that organization never went away. And in fact, they've infiltrated our media, education, entertainment. We all know about this. So the word fascism is just demonized. It's misunderstood. Nobody knows the true history of it, all the stuff you've been doing. And so every single time people use it, both on the left and the right, they're just digging themselves deeper into the abyss. And so my question to you is, what is another approach to talking about fascism with people in a way that will bypass the Marxist dialectic and historical ignorance? You've been talking about that already, but I do want to frame it and focus it.
Yeah, well, first, you're absolutely correct. It's built, and you're correct to name the Jews in it as well, because once again, the only thing that can combat the Jewish system, once capitalism, Jewish, communism,
Yes.
Jewish, third position, Gentile. Okay, so all the thought leaders, I present them all to you. Whether they're Arabic, whether they're Hispanic, whether they're European, they're all Gentile. Okay, so this is why this is the most maligned, lied about. People are most ignorant on it about this, is because this is the system that is by itself anti-Semitic. Just by existing, it's anti-Semitic. It does not feed the strength of the Jewish people. It's built around honor culture. Okay, this does not feed the strength of where the Jews are at. This is not mercantile. This is not gold coins and silver tongues, right? This is action, merit. This is how you move forward in this society. So of course it's been purposely maligned. They've written books on this, of using these terms: racist, fascist, Nazi. These are Pavlovian. So what I think that these things are, these are dehumanizing terms now. So they've trained people so much. When you hear white separatist, racist, fascist, Nazi, you're supposed to hate that person, and violence on that person is okay. Okay, that's what these words have been turned into, dehumanizing terms. And this is why they use it at people. You're a Nazi, rah, rah, rah. And then now they can justify violence on you because they have this fake moral high ground. So we have to even be more concerned. It's not just they malign the terms. They've turned them into dehumanizing terms to dehumanize their enemy, to allow violence to be committed on them while they take this fake moral high ground. So it's even more deadly than it is. And these terms have been created by them, and they've spoken about this for these reasons. This is why they use these terms. And what blows my mind, Saul Alinsky, Jewish radical leftist thinker, was saying in the 60s, I think we've overused the word racism. It's losing its power. But yet here we are today having the same conversation, like, well, maybe they've used racist too much. It's not as strong as it used to be. But it's still making people, like I said, how many white kids you need to see murdered or raped, and their fathers go up there and first thing they start talking about is, this is not about race. So it's like, it's still prevalent in so many people's minds.
Humiliating.
Oh God, that's a whole other thing. That's a whole other topic in itself. That's the curse of the conquerors, right there is we're seeing it play out. But yeah, so it is this term created by them. And how do you bypass it? Third position. Speak about the tenets. I don't care. That's something with the communists will always, they're so dogmatic, they have to call it communism. I don't care what you call it, as long as it's third position at its core, you call it whatever you want to call it, just get the tenets across. So that's how I had success with it, is if you could keep the term fascism out of it long enough so they can process some of the beliefs first before, oh, they hear that term and their mind shuts down and they start, everything they hate jumps in their mind, and that's what you are all of a sudden. So if you could speak to them on that level, like I said, I've had success like that, but I've also been shut down as soon as like, you're a fascist, then you can't even get a word edgewise, because like I said, everything they hate pops into their mind and they're pointing it at you. You represent that. And you don't even know what they hate, but you represent it. So they've done very well with that training. And it's still powerful, even though we seem like, oh, less white people are caring, but still enough do care to where it affects us on the larger scale.
The way you phrased it as Pavlovian, a Pavlovian trigger, is amazing. That is exactly what it is. It's this kind of weird sort of, button that you push and then suddenly everyone becomes a rabid dog. But the really horrifying and very, very real side of this is the dehumanization of the other, and in such that people can openly talk about doing horrible violence upon anyone that it goes against Jewish power. Case in point, very, very recently, this is currently in the news, is, and I can't remember his name, he's a Jewish guy that was, he worked under, I believe, Trump, as I think and he was in politics under Trump, and he called out Candace Owens that she should be arrested, and also the people that work at the Young Turks, that both of them, left and right, should be arrested because they're, quote, anti-Semitists, and blah blah blah. And now there's a massive pushback, and who would ever dream that Candace Owens and the Young Turks would agree on anything? So it's really a signpost for us to go, hold on, let me finish.
Okay.
That history is fucking repeating itself. Okay, we are right on the fucking precipice of falling off into this gulag reality that other countries had, China, Russia, etc. It's really profoundly disturbing how very, very close we are to that. You wanted to comment on that?
Yeah, because I just forgot when I was talking about like the creation of third position in early France. I mean, bringing up the Jew, that I forgot a big part of it. Someone who was termed the first National Socialist, his name was Marquis de Moraes, and he was the first. He was a wild man, aristocrat, went to America, got in a bunch of duels, killed a bunch of buffalo, went back to France. He was the first to combine nationalism, socialism, and anti-Semitism into politics. And and when we talk about Candace Owens and we talk about the Young Turks, that's the unique thing about the Jew, where I do think you can be successful bringing anti-Semitism even into modern American politics, is the Jew repulses everyone once people get to know them. And that is something, that is a mortar you could bind the bricks with, is, okay, if we can't put a face on everything we hate, the Jew becomes a great face for that. The black race could see that, the brown race could see that, the yellow race could see that, the white race could see that. We all know the stereotypes about Jew, and more of them coming out. And now, more than ever, since October 7th, a Hamas attack on Israel, you're seeing the audacious nature, the chutzpah of the Jew. Everyone's seeing it. They don't give a shit about these children. So
they celebrate it.
that's what I'm saying. And everyone is seeing this. So people always say, oh, CT, if you just removed your anti-Semitism, you probably go so much further with your messaging. And okay, true, but then I'm ignoring the Trojan horse, and that's suicide. I can't do that. But B, I might disagree. I might say, no, that might be the thing that can unite people to a common enemy. And that is something people have been able to do with politics because of who the Jews are as a people. They are that repulsive to every race. They use and exploit and demean every race. And as soon as people start seeing that, you can actually start building. That's why you start seeing left and right getting attacked for anti-Semitism. Well, keep doing it. Keep doing it, Jews. Keep pushing. Keep calling us monsters. Sooner or later, we're going to start to believe you. And that's the day I'm waiting for.
So on a personal level, I happen to know this, I won't go down the rabbit hole, but I know some people that are pretty far left. And I don't talk politics with them, but there was like a protest. It was like a pro-Palestinian protest downtown, and whatever, we got talking about it, and then I brought up the situation with Israel, the Jews, all the stuff, and I just kind of let it all out. And I thought for a minute there that, like, wow, this is the topic that can unite the far left and the far right. And it seems to me like it is, even though we're sort of enemies, this really, if both of us came together on this one point, we could upend and uproot Jewish hegemony in the West.
Oh yeah.
And go ahead.
No, I think that's a reality. I think that is. I just don't think we haven't figured out how to do that yet. But I do think that's a reality and a possibility for sure.
Mm-hmm. So it's something worth discussing more. I mean, and I like how you're approaching it, saying, like, forget about these Pavlovian catchwords. You just talk about the three tenets, nationalism, economic collectivism, build the new man. And those things branch off into much bigger topics.
Yes.
But, beautifully done. All right, let me ask you another question. So this is a little more, this is more focused on right-wingers. What's the difference between fascism and nationalism? And granted, when I wrote these questions, this was before the show. So of course we know about fascism is just one form of third position. So that would, just assume that that's kind of baked into the question. So what's the difference between fascism and nationalism, and how can people on the right wing come to know and embrace third position?
I don't think you can have nationalism without fascism. I don't like national capitalism. I mean, that's an oxymoron in itself. So I don't think the right really embraces true nationalism, community, right? It's about blood and soil. I don't think, especially in the modern right, I don't see them really into blood and soil at all, or really having community. I mean, nationalism just became a not dirty word in 2016 with Trump. Even before then, the right wing was like, it was a dirty word. Oh yes, but Mad Hatter is right. Yes, a lot of the early third positionists and fascists came from the Marxists. This is what I'm saying. I hate when people get closed-minded in this thing, and whenever I venture out and speak to commies and stuff, it's like, well, then you don't understand where we come from. We come from open mind. We come from pooling Marxists. Some of the best fascists came from Marxists. And yes, because they were revolutionary. That's why they were Marxists to begin with. And they realized, oh, this is the wrong way. Let me find a better revolutionary way. So that's what I'm looking for in this country. That revolutionary energy. If you're left, if you're right, or whatever, we got to go beyond left and right. We got to go beyond red and blue to the third position. And then we find something that can channel that direction of that revolutionary energy. So yes, a lot of fascists came from socialists, anarchists as well, syndicalists as well. So yes, it wasn't this, and that's one thing you see with like false fascism today, is like this closed-minded, it's a right-wing thing. Like, fuck you, how dare you, do not, like there's capitalists now trying to call themselves fascist or speaking out against Jews. Like, this is crazy. This would never exist in any kind of true scene. This is how like muddied everything has gotten too with the internet and the grifters, etc.
Oh boy, grifters. Here's the thing. So you just said something very interesting. If we could combine the revolutionary energy of the left with the blank energy of the right, how can you like fill in the blank on that sentence?
The blanket. Well,
like
the right doesn't have any revolutionary energy. That's what I'm saying. It's so
nationalism, patriotism,
but it's hollow. Okay, you take that. The true patriotism are sons that get sent to war for this country and die. So you to tap into that, yes, but you have to. And I think a lot of vets understand this, that they were lied to and sent to these worthless wars. And that's another thing about fascists. A lot of them are ex-military as well. So it's going to have to come from that crowd as well. But I do think just attacking this system to them and telling how it's not nationalist at all, how they misused the best blood of this land for these horrible wars that benefited nothing, and it was for no one but the few, right? So you could definitely speak on those, but there's so many people. we have the Constitution for us third positionists. One of our biggest hurdles is like the 1776 boomers who are just, they're all about the Constitution. And I argue Enlightenment philosophy, which our Constitution was built off of, was the woke belief of that era. So you're essentially following the woke belief from a bunch of 20-year-old, mainly rich, mainly the one percenters of the economic wealth of the country that created the Constitution. It's like you're going to live 200 years later verbatim off of that. It's like that's not, we evolve. That's another thing with third position. We're not dogmatic. If one system of economics doesn't work, we pivot to another. The National Socialist Economy, if anyone looked into it, and I did a 2-hour video on it, which highlights it. They use central planning sometimes. They use regulated markets sometimes. They use price fixing sometimes. They used what they weren't bedded to any one thing. They were looking for what works. Wow. And this is what's about third position. We're not dogmatic as well. We're unfortunately in this country dogmatic to this paper written 200 years ago, which I argue is off some of the worst philosophy anyways, anti-God, anti-community, anti-nation, everything. It individualized the man. It separated the man from nature, from God. It made it dog-eat-dog capitalist world where neighbors compete for a paycheck. Yeah, I think it's a horrible system to build a country off of. But that's one of the biggest hurdles as well, is that, because I come off very anti, obviously, the values this country was built off of. One of the benefits about the Jews destroying that, the next generations of Americans coming up don't have that love for the past of this country that the boomers do. So that might be something we can use to our advantage, believe it or not.
Yeah, I really feel like the let's all die in a big giant war spirit is gone. I mean, for starters, the whole DEI wokeism in the military shot that to hell for starters. You don't really have a real military with these kind of, whatever. And then I think that the internet is a thing that happened and now people know better to an extent where they're not willing to fly into this kind of uber nationalist mentality of we gotta stop communism, and let's go our children's lives into a pit. I'm gonna open the floor for some questions if people have questions. We're about an hour in almost. I have another question for Culture Thug, but we have some highly intelligent people in the chat. A lot of my regular friends that come to my regular art streams, which I do almost every night. We have fabulous freestyle conversation. Anyway, my buddy Splattercat asks, why did they choose fascism specifically to use against the right? And he says, or rather the label of fascism.
They use it both ways these days. At first, yeah, because the right were the classic right, let's say, had some kind of belief of holding on to law and order and things like that. I guess is why you would use it or racism too. Fascism is synonymous with racism as well. So it's just another way of saying that. So yeah, I think it was originally pointed at the right, but now the right is so cucked, they're calling the left fascist as well. So it's just become that. It's a pejorative for everyone. It's it's everything I don't like now. That's all that it means.
Everything I don't like. It's a kind of, I'm rubber and you're glue, and what you say bounces off me and sticks on you. It's very it's so annoying to see how profoundly ignorant these people are when they go back and forth. And there's this kind of dopamine hit culture on the internet where that's all people do every day, all day. Oh, God. And it's kind of the point where you can't just go out there and just say something simple or ask a simple question without people piling on you and just saying some of the cruelest things they can come up with too. And it's weird. You have to have internet skin where it bounces off of you. But this is an anti-intellectual culture that we're living in now. It is what it is. Ethnat Atheist asks the question, how important is God for the blood and soil movement?
Well, first there was an earlier question. Just someone asked about Marshall Ironsides. I didn't want to miss that one.
Okay.
He's someone I worked with.
Go ahead.
Yeah, he passed away. He did pass away years ago. He was an old man. He was not in great health, even when I met him. And he unfortunately passed away. He had got kind of bitter in his later years, really bitter out of nowhere. And I don't know what brought that on, but unfortunately, we didn't have much communication like his last year, but he passed away. How important is God for Blood and Soil movement? Now, I'm agnostic myself. It's not important at all. But if you're in a Christian country, you're going to have to use that. You can't go against. We're in America. We're in a Christian country. So you can't be an anti-Christian thing hoping to gain popularity or some kind of traction here. So it has to encompass into, depending on what country you're in. Now, for me personally, I don't think you need it for any kind of blood and soil movement. My religion is fascism, so I don't need another religion. But we're in a Christian country, so you have to incorporate it. The National Socialists created this thing called positive Christianity, which kind of put their values into Christianity. Yeah, something like that. Let's get rid of the Schofield version of the Bible, et cetera, et cetera. But I think we have to work with Christianity and God if you're in a Christian country, especially if it's the mass population is a Christian country. It's not something you can combat. We already have enough we're fighting against. Fighting the state religion, just you're guaranteeing defeat and no chance. So it's important. It depends on the country, long story short, but it has to be worked into it. You can't offend it.
So like I always say, let's win first, and then you can go back to, fighting about these topics on the internet.
Well, let's stress that real fast, because we were talking about that earlier. Like where my head's at is like, our objective should be this system and replacing it. Everything else can come after. Nothing changes with this system and power. So I think if everyone's mentality was focus one, this system needs to go. Yes. Then, that's revolutionary energy. We're not going to get along with everyone, but a lot of people who we disagree with want this system gone as well. That needs to be step one. You can't have a bunch of little mini revolutions and think you're going to win anything. That has to be step one. So, if we could get on that page, things might start getting interesting in this country.
Since the beginning, I've often said to people in the movement that we need to treat the movement like a business, and people kind of go, they kind of cringe when I say that. But think about it, everyone in a corporation, they don't all have the same political views, religious views. The objective is to go to work and get the thing done to keep the company moving, so you still have a job, and the job in this case is the survival of our race, so you can be Christian, atheist, this and that, but that's not the question. It's not relevant per se, if I'm using that correctly, to the cause. And the cause is survival of our race, which is intimately entwined with destroying the system and replacing it with a third position system that has nationalism, economic collectivism, and the building of the new man, which in your videos on your channel, you go deep on that topic very beautifully, very eloquently.
Yes.
Let me just get back to some of the questions here. We got a pretty lively chat here. Bad Hatter says, my question is, you pointed out people are still, quote, doing well to rebel, but does he believe they will ever allow that to happen? They being the small hats. I assume.
No. Mad Hatter's right. This is an argument I have with people on our team, on our side all the time. They say, bro, it's going to fall apart. It's not falling apart. It's not falling apart. They're going to be able to take care of you. You're going to put the goggles on. You're going to go into virtual space. You're going to go in your phone. It's not going away. No, they're going to keep it running. That's why I'm beating this damn drum. That's why I'm saying we can't wait because it's never coming to where it's enough, where we're going to be. They have made a system to where I do think there's going to be a lot of people dying within the next 5 years, maybe. I do think they do need to cut the fat a bit. I do think another disease, they've been telling us another disease is coming. So it's not like I'm Nostradamus, but I do think they need to cut the fat a bit. But no, with way they can consolidate resources now, the way they can atomize you into your own room, into a virtual space, you will be materially comfortable enough that you will make excuses not to rebel. So yes, I completely disagree with the people that think this is going to fall apart. I'll continue to disagree with them. I say they're just kicking the can down the road for a day that will never come, and that is so frustrating. We have to create the day, like we spoke earlier. We have to will it, or it's not going to happen.
Correct.
So we can't wait for shit to fall apart. It's not. They know how to keep us going. They have enough resources and technology. Already, you're seeing everyone's addicted to dopamine hits from the social media.
Yes,
dude, this is not going away. So you're right, Mad Hatter, and this is a big disagreement I have with a lot of people in our scene.
To bounce off of your points there, I would say that we really truly are in the 11th hour, because with what's coming down the line with transhumanism, all kinds of technology, etc., it will. I would dare say that it might be impossible to ever be free after that stuff gets locked in.
Yes.
I don't- it, it'll it, this We're literally the last generation, the last hope, and I think that's why everyone has to act like they're on fire and like run, like really, really care about this, really do anything and everything you can in the reach and the resources that you have. And then for people who are listening or have like greater resources in this movement, to get behind Cultured Thug and to support what he's doing and disseminate this information, to to start consolidating leadership of this kind, et cetera, et cetera. Because like you were saying, like when people are cut off, see, this comes back to the narrative, the cultural narrative. We can say all of these things to Joe Bag of Donuts on the street, and he'll be like, well, I don't care. They just like they don't have the will, because they don't know who they are. They've been cut off from their true identity, and they don't get it. It's just, what's the next fix? What's the next pleasure?
Yeah.
How do I do what and so anyway.
But doesn't that get old too? I like, doesn't
Mhm.
this gluttony get
Yeah,
old
yeah,
too
yeah,
someday? I mean,
yeah. Well, let's check out the next question. Dennis Fowler says, "Does CT see the Trump tariffs and the disorder of markets that it caused as a promising weapon against the speculator class?"
I wish it would be. I'm a fan of tariffs. I'm a fan of like trying to
Yeah,
get some kind of economic stability in this country,
yeah,
and manufacturing back. So I like the idea of it. And you're seeing the market, but no, not with Trump, because he's always going to praise the market, especially if it's going up for him.
mhm,
Um, you would think it should, especially with the working class. Like why do we even have a speculator class? Why does Wall Street even exist? But I haven't even seen that come on the radar. So I don't
yes,
think so. I don't think so. I don't know why. I don't know why we even put up with, why the working class even puts up with a Wall Street, but I haven't seen any kind of chatter about that. So I don't think so, unfortunately.
yeah, yeah. It's funny too, because like money is just fake. Like it's
Mhm.
not based on a gold standard. They print it when they need it. It to me is an enormous kind of like rat maze. It's just this kind of prison that it's a type of theater where we all have to struggle to get these meaningless pieces of paper, and we judge each other based on how much of that paper we have. And we're completely cut off from nature, and increasingly so, and alienated from each other, and increasingly so, all for money. And it's and again, it's like, it really is a type of slow death, like it's the death of our spirit.
Yeah.
It's there's just, I can't say, I don't know, a lot to say on the topic, but let's look at some other comments and questions. Let's see here. I'm falling behind here.
What Mr. White was saying there, on that comment you just had up,
Yeah.
like that's kind of how I envision American third position. Like America to me is not a nation; it's an empire. It's not
Mhm.
like, it's not a nation in a classical sense of what a nation would be. I mean, we
Mhm.
use the term whatever, but it's not a nation; it's an empire. I think you have a strong central government that sets its tenets, and you have states' rights, and that's freedom of association and states' rights. Immediately stop so much confusion and fighting, and like you can't force diversity, anything like that. So I think states' rights and a freedom of association is the only way you could salvage this America, 100%. And I think you have that strong central third position government that goes over all of it. You don't violate whatever comes from there, but at the same time, your own state, it fits more your religion, your ethnicity, your region, or whatever, right? It's more identity to that. I think that's the only way we salvage America is states' rights, freedom of association, 100%.
I lean into that quite a lot. My good friend Hippocratic Oaf has a comment here. Let me first say that this is one of the smartest guys I know. I love this guy. If the British win he's quoting Kaiser Wilhelm II. If the British win the war, I should say it in a German accent. I'm not that good at that. Anyway, it will be Triumph of the Shoekeeper's Ethics. And he's asking, was Kaiser Wilhelm II a natural third positionist? This is interesting.
This is interesting. Unfortunately, I do not know much about Kaiser Wilhelm. Like, I haven't deep dived him. He was the Kaiser that was king when Bismarck, right, was had a parliament at the time. So maybe Bismarck more so than Wilhelm, because I remember Bismarck and Wilhelm bumped heads a lot on quite a few things. So I'm not sure. I don't know enough to give a in-depth opinion or educated opinion on that, let me say.
Okay. Well, we got another question from Mr. Fowler. Addendum: can a serious tariff regime throw a wrench in the consumerist machine? Interesting.
If they wanted to, they don't want to though. They want to keep consumerism going. Matter of fact, they say this is our strength, is we're the biggest consumers. I mean, it's just a slap in the face. Hey, fatties, eat more.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. No, no one wants to do that. So no, unfortunately, not. I mean, no one in power wants to do that. They want us to be just consumers till we die. So
that's what I'm saying about this type of capitalist theater that we live in, where you just consume, work, pay your taxes, and now die, and we're cattle, and this comes back to the whole goy thing, the Talmudic definition of non-Jews as being cattle. We're stuck in this kind of system. This system serves them. It hurts us. It's a parasitic system. It's an evil system. It's unnatural. And so these are more reasons to pile on to the fire here, that, the fire of third position that we need to internalize. So Ethnat Atheist says, where does this racial or nationalist change in Christianity come from? I don't know, from a Christian perspective, how you get to a position where they all ally with non-believers and pagans.
Well, I mean, aren't Christians supposed to, like, your mission as a Christian is to try to convert me, but not force me, right? Mm-hmm. So I would think on the Christian ethic alone, if you're not there to force me, then you could get along with me. Now, you might be annoying trying to save me all the time, sure, right. But I don't think that should go against a Christian tenet. I don't see how, though, unless I'm missing something. It's like, it's not your job to force me to believe in your God. It's your job to try to save my soul by convincing me your God and Jesus and all that's real. But it's not forcing me, right? So there shouldn't be no reason why, if respect is given to your religion and not offense, that you would not share the same respect to the other person. I would imagine. I would think.
It's interesting. There's just so much to unpack in all of this, because that's one of the big questions that I ask frequently and kind of chat about in my art streams, is how do we connect with Christians? Christianity is obviously enormous part of our culture. I think that, the rural whites, the whites in the countryside, are more Christian per se, I guess. I don't know if that's statistically true, but that's the the last bastion of our people in America, and you're not going to get to them if you've got to go through Christianity to get to them. So if there's something in the Bible or in the practice of Christianity that relates to the practice of third position and how that could be connected, I think that would be extraordinarily powerful tool. That's really something we should probably get into.
You could turn. Here's the thing about the Bible. You can turn it to whatever you want. Remember, it used to be Christians burning Jews in mass for the littlest offense, and now Christians get slapped in one cheek, turn the other cheek, get slapped again. So it's like, look how that mentality has changed. So I think it's depending on who's preaching from the pulpit as far as what most Christians believe.
Interesting. That's I won't comment on that, but I'm hearing you loud and clear. I'll put it that way. Robin's Nest has a great question. What are your thoughts on Jonathan Bowden?
Well, obviously, I took my name from his great speech and his speaking on what Lord Byron's poem about the cultured thug character, the modern day philosopher warrior. I think Bowden was a gem. I think he was an eccentric intellectual out there. And that's another thing. I hate that I saw some shit came out recently about, Jonathan Bowden was this or that. He wasn't just like this Puritan crap. I don't know where you guys get this from. None of these great men of history were Puritans, at least the ones we admire in this scene and all that. Every man has their quirks and flaws. In fact, I'll argue you can't go against the grain unless you got something off with you, or you would just follow, and just like everyone else. So you have to have a little bit of wild streak in you. And he had that, but he was highly intelligent. He was highly passionate person. His speeches, hit me to some people. I knew about most of them, but he was refreshing because he would speak about the Yukio Mishimas or the Oswald Spanglers, people that you usually wouldn't hear talked about in the right-wing scenes. So I think he had a very open mind, and he was able to grab from many good resources that typical right-wing thinkers wouldn't even think to grab from. So I think he's a very pivotal and influential figure. And obviously for me, as I took my internet name back in 2012, I think it was, I went from Quest or I for Knowledge, and then as Cultured Thug. And it was from that speech. I thought that fit my personality, and I thought that was a good modern way of saying philosopher warrior. So yeah, I think Bowden is another grandfather of this scene that should be learned from, and he did a lot of good and a lot of education.
Beautiful, beautiful. So Victorian Time Traveler has a question. What do you think of this idea? The day we went off the gold standard, we lost any real reason for having taxes at all. If the government can just print money and keep the money,
Keep the money, yeah. I mean, so you'll get economists that'll argue about that's, well, it devalues the currency and it's just going to make inflation go up if the money is not backed by anything. I'm not a big believer in money being to be backed by material. I believe it can be backed by work. So yeah, so once we're talking about money is fake. Money's just an agreement people have with each other to trade commodity. Whatever the power tells you is money will be money, right? So I think it's much more controllable than we make it out to be. I think we've turned it into this, like it's this uncontrollable thing that I think this is Jews Jewing everything up. I think it's pretty simple. So I agree. I don't think money needs to be backed by anything but work. And I don't think we need to have taxes exactly for that reason. So yes, I might be a little leftist on that because that is a belief from that. If we just back our money with work, I think that's what National Socialists did, and they were doing pretty well. So I don't believe in this gold standard. I don't care about any of that. Money is just an imagination, an agreement we make, and it is the only real things are the materials of the earth and the energy we use to create with them. Those are the only real things. Now, how do we compensate all the made up things? We can do that if we had a nationalist system, right? We could do that within our own national system. We don't need to back it with gold or anything else. And we don't need to tax citizens or anything like that. Because like you said, why would you need to tax citizens if you could make your own currency? So yes. And I don't think it'll devalue anything. I don't think anything like that. I think if your country controls your economy, you will be fine.
When can I vote for you?
Well,
because that's the shit right there, my man. All right, so Mr. White's asking, could your brand of fascism be successful on a 150 acres of private land with 50 or 100 willing people?
That would be the start of fascism. That's it. Successful? No. It's not about building a small community. It's about becoming the country. So that would be an awesome start. You give me 100 people and 50 acres, 100 fanatics. I think we can get a wheel rolling. We'll either all get the wheel rolling or be in prison or in the morgue, something like that. So that'd be interesting in itself. But no, it has to be bigger. Like I said, it's not just about small communities. People, I see there's a lot of communities like making these communities, and more power to you. But you cannot run from this system. It's going to come to get you sooner or later. So I believe we should take it head on. So that'd be an awesome start, but no, that's no end game.
Indeed. I'm looking for another question here. There's some interesting comments.
We could turn the small hats. We can turn Christians against the small hat. That's what they're just so miseducated. Jews hate their religion. Jews hate Jesus. Yeah. So we can just understand that.
I mean, so like I work with some hardcore Christians, and in the news, I saw Netanyahu put out a bill trying to make it a law that anybody talking about Christianity in Israel would be put in jail for up to 2 years. Any form of, disseminating information, all of it. And I've already been working on them with the whole like synagogue of Satan quote, but then talking about things like the Khazarians and this and that. But I hate to say it, and I'm not saying all Christians are like this. I have some Christian friends that are extremely intelligent, highly educated, but the majority, in my experience, tend to be very much, oh God, just very kind of cultish or like just do what everyone else is doing and don't question it. That's the behavior. It's more of a sociological study than it is about religion itself. Does that make sense?
That 100% makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and it saddens me. I'm not trying to attack Christianity or Christians. I'm pointing out the social behavior of groups, our groups, in-groups, white groups, that we have to be more thoughtful about this. But I think I'm going a little bit off the track here. I often call it the Christian question. But
yeah. Well, I mean, this is especially in the white nationalist scene, it has been an issue.
Yeah, big time. Well, I think we're
to crush your enemies, to see them driven before you, and hear the lamentation of their women. Hell yes,
Conan.
Yes, I will. We will Conan the Barbarian this thing up if we can.
So I have one last question on my sheet of questions. So I'll throw that. Actually, I have more than one, but let's see what we can do here. If anyone researches, the origins and meaning of Antifa or anti-fascist, they'll find it was a Jewish communist terrorist organization, and I'll venture to say that it still is. What is the relationship between fascism and communism historically, and how has that impacted the political dialectic that frames how we see these things today?
Well, I mean, I think they've molded what I say a lot in the Jewish question scene is we need to de-Judify ourselves. And people think, oh, you wake up, Jews own this, Jews did this, Jews did that. You start pointing the finger at the Jew. My goodness, Rio, calm down. You start pointing the finger at the Jew, but you're not realizing you were raised by that same Jew. Like, you're not even you. You have to understand that. You were raised, and you're not above that either. You were raised in their system. You sucked at the Jewish teat your whole life. And you think you just magically de-Judify yourself just because you're blaming them now? It's like, no, we start coming off like blacks crying about whitey now. It's like, no. We can't be that. We're not victims, dude. We're not victims at all. We're willing serfs. Because our will, we've seen it all throughout history, especially coming from our peoples. Our will can overcome anything if we so determine it. We just haven't determined that at all. So that is a frustrating part of it all. But we've been molded from them from the start, and we need to rip that from us to actually oppose this system. We must be against it completely. We can't out Jew the Jew or even desire to out Jew the Jew. It's like we have to bring honor culture. We have to bring what our ancestors held dear and what they used to combat the Jew for thousands of years. Right? It's like we have to tap into that again. And we are so far, like we're speaking how we started this off. We don't even know our past. We don't even know our history.
Yeah, I know.
That's a big part of knowing that. And then you start knowing who you are. And I know that sounds corny. Richard Spencer was doing all that years ago. Know who you are and all that. But that is true.
I wrote a song. I'm sorry. I wrote a song called "Become Who You Are."
Yes, but that is the truth, though. We don't know our past, so we can't become who we are supposed to be, and that is a big part of de-Judifying. We have to kill these modern morals within us. We have to get in touch with our ancestors and what they held dear, and that needs to become like our main motivation, our main morality, not this modern Jewish one. And there's so much confusion over that. I think that's kind of why we're spinning our wheels in the mud. That's why we keep falling for charlatans, because we don't believe in honor culture. We don't believe in authenticity yet. We believe in popularity still. We believe in entertainment still. And that's why you see the people at the top of these scenes are entertainers, are people from other popular scenes, right?
Yep. It's really surreal to see how people from entertainment segue right into politics, but that follows everything I've been saying about politics is just theater of the absurd. let me say something to what you were just saying. So the left has this term to decolonize. They would say, "Oh, decolonize, blah blah blah, decolonize yourself." Well, I think what we can say is de-Judify. You know, that is our decolonization, is to de-Judify ourselves, and we first must know what that is, and then from there break it down, pull it out, root by root, every part of our life that was dictated to us, that was formulated to us, the matrices that we live in, the simulations that we live in, that is for their benefit and for our detriment, must be uprooted. You have to recognize it. And a great place to start is by going to Cultured Thug's website, frankly, and getting to know your history, getting to know who you are. His site, rather his Rumble with his videos, is an extraordinary resource for that. And so this is what I'm asking people to do, is to go. It's the links are all in the show notes. You guys can check it out, but you can easily look up Cultured Thug on Rumble or anywhere. I don't know how badly you're censored on, say, like Google, but wow, go through these, set aside some time. I mean, I'd like to do a show on every single video in here. I know that's like, okay, Don, you're getting a little crazy. But it's just so good. It's so good. And I'm so grateful, for everything that
I
you're doing.
appreciate it. That's what it's there for. And I just hope it turns people into fanatics. I used to get dopamine hits because I'd hear for years, "Oh, CT, you turned me into a fascist." After years of seeing that in comments and not seeing it rise, I'm like, okay, shut the fuck up. I don't, obviously I'm not, because if you're not a fanatic like myself on this stuff and really willing to ruin your own personal life and social life
Right.
and all of that to push this forward, then you're not a fascist. I'm sorry.
It's funny because I was hanging out with a friend of mine. He's like half Thai, half white, half Asian, and we get in some deep conversations about all this stuff. And there's like another mutual friend of ours that doesn't want to really see me anymore because I talk about the Jews too much. And this guy's like a hardcore Christian, and it's anyway. So my friend was like, I'm ready for the truth. Like, give me the whole truth. Like, I don't have these hangups or whatever. Like, just tell me. And I said, listen, if I do tell you the real whole truth, you will become a Nazi. The look on his face, because he trusts me, he knows me, he respects me, he understands me. And like the look on his face was like, the truth is Nazi, so to speak, and like it just, I wish I took a photograph of that expression on his face, because it really showed you. Anyway, again, like, it's so weird to be using words like Nazi, for example, that, like you said earlier, is just a like a Pavlov dog kind of trigger word that, there's a side of even my mind is like, Nazi, Nazi fan, and you're afraid to say the word. Of course, the word is a slur of National Socialist, but wow, we have to liberate our minds. So I think probably maybe we'll wrap it up here. Maybe you can just kind of talk a little bit about your books or what you're doing next. Like I said, your links are in the show notes. People can check it out. Would you like to talk about your books a little bit, your upcoming projects?
Oh yeah. So I finally, like I said, I've tried to do every level of activism on a shoot. Theodore Fritsch, once again, learn from a classic anti-Semite. Sorry to go off, but you throw these great names up there. I got to say something.
Right.
So
Okay.
I'm a student of the classic anti-Semites, Fritsch being one of them. And and I try to bring you their words. If you're learning about the Jew from any modern person, shame on you. Go to the classic anti-Semites. 1800s, mid 1800s, France and Germany is the best thinking discussions and breaking down of the Jewish Gentile frictions you'll ever see. They've never been topped. So from early 1900s to mid 1800s, France and Germany, you're going to find a host of people, Wilhelm Marr, Theodor Fritsch, and all that are just awesome and understood the Jew like no one does today. So please read the classics. That's where you're going to get your true education. There's even some Jews that Maurice Samuel, You Gentiles, in The Gentleman and the Jew, where Jews broke down the frictions between Gentiles and Jews, and they say the same things we say. So it's like there's so much from the classics you can learn. But so yeah, I've done activism every level I can, and the only two things that were missing that I always wanted to do was, one, write a book. and two, like I'm eventually have to go into politics, I guess. But
Yeah.
so I finally did the 109 reasons, because you keep seeing the meme 109 times they're kicked out 109 countries. Well, that's not accurate. So I wanted to give an accurate and give reasons for each expulsion or each pogrom that happened against the Jews. So because you always hear jealousy this, or the elites use them this. It's like, well, a lot of this history is documented, and there's actual court cases of child murders and everything else. So I wanted to make a source book as my first introduction into writing about 109 different expulsions and pogroms that happened throughout history, all throughout the world: Europe, Asia, Africa, Middle East, and South America. I get the whole world, because they try to say it's just a European thing. No. It's
Yeah.
this is something every race in the
Look,
world has agreed on.
okay,
Jews, get the hell out of our country. Okay.
this is
So
where I have to jump in. I apologize for interrupting you, but
Mhm.
this is the thing that, like, let's reverse this. Okay, if the word goy means non-Jew, that means the entire humanity, every race, every country, every ethnicity. And if a goy is cattle and da da da, and you know, should be treated as cattle, and flip that around, what that means is that all of humanity, in a sense, is at war, or should be at war, with the Jews. And I know that's a very powerful and dangerous thing to say, but they've declared war against of humanity. So how many hundreds of millions of people have died under communism? Let's start there.
Yeah.
Okay, in the past 100 years, look at the human trafficking and the scale of that right now. Look at the scale of the World Bank and how it controls things. On and on. All the World War I, World War II. Will these crimes against humanity ever be paid for? Do you understand? So this is where we in the right race realist world have a way to connect to people of other races, ethnicities, nationalities, and say, listen, this isn't just me. This is where the left and the right can come together. Can you imagine if all countries on the planet unified in this way? This problem would be fixed tomorrow.
We get caught like in our own mind, like the Jews are just anti-white because they use this race or that race against whites. But we also have to understand, as they're using those races, they're destroying them as well. So Alex
Mhm.
Linder coined the term the universal tan man. Like that's what they want to turn us all into. They don't want Africans to have African culture. They don't want Japanese to have Japanese culture,
Yes.
just like they don't want Europeans to have European culture. They
Right,
want to
right.
create a bland, raceless, consuming mass. And
Yes.
so it's every race that's being attacked by this. So it is
Yeah.
a clergy plan for the world, and it affects every race. So you're 100% right, Donald. And that's why I do believe you can infuse anti-Semitism into politics and still be
Mhm.
successful even in this modern day. So the 109 is about the reasons these certain things happened. And then I'm currently writing, I'm reading, still fishing up, reading different books. But the book I'm writing is going to be called Beyond Right and Left, the history and philosophy of third position politics. And it's going to be just
Nice.
from beginning to end, the origin, how it formed from a thought to a person, to a collection of people, to organizations, then the philosophy behind it. I want to give a whole history of the third position and then the philosophy behind it. And that's going to take me a couple years because I want this to be in depth and very nerd out on it. So
Mhm.
that's very important to me. And then once I'm done with that, like I said, I'm start dipping my toes in to try to find some revolutionary energy in this country and see if I can expand beyond my echo chambers and find
Mm.
people that are sick of this system and want to start working towards ways to actually confront it.
Powerful, powerful stuff. Well, I'm so glad that we connected and that we had this show. I really would love to do more shows with you, more conversations, more collaboration within, being a cattle stuck in the trap of this capitalist world here. I don't know how much time and energy I have, but I want with you. I'm probably as fanatical as you are. I just use the arts. I'm an artist, so that's my tool. That's my weapon. But
Oh God, I love it. Yes.
yeah, so I'm super grateful. Oh yeah, and last thing, you have my painting, don't you?
Yes, I have your beautiful painting. Yes, your Francis Parker Yockey portrait. Yes, I was showing that off, and this is how we got back in touch after these few years. Uh,
Yes, it's marvelous.
awesome. I was so happy to get that piece. I mean, it was such a badass piece. Oh man, yeah. It just to do a Yaki piece. I mean, people most people don't even know who
Exactly.
Yaki was. You know,
Right.
it's heartbreaking. He's one of
Right.
the best American minds out there.
Oh my God.
But
Yeah. And you have a show on Yaki on your
yeah, I did a thing on Yaki as well. Yeah, you got to keep his name alive. But no, it is such an awesome portrait. If people haven't seen it, I have it up on my Twitter. I put it up on there just like the last 2 posts, maybe. It is awesome. Yeah, I mean, I don't need to fluff you up. You know, you're a great artist. You've been doing great work. I've been a fan for a very long time.
Thank you.
Um, and I was so happy to get an awesome portrait from an awesome dude. It's like
Brilliant.
it's just double good. It's to help a brother out and to get
Oh,
something awesome for it. Like that was
it's
such a win.
well,
Yeah,
it's mutual. The feeling's mutual. I mean, to know that you have that painting specifically,
yeah.
it just fills me with joy. So I'm really, really happy. Well, I want to thank everybody in the chat who contributed to this. The chat is vital, and you guys as the community are vital to all of this. We're out here talking, working, producing content, etc. But it's for you. We're not living in a void, here. We want you to be a part of it. Make sure that you share this show, this link to this show, to all your networks, all your social media. Get your friends on board, get them involved in what we're trying to do. Every single one of us has a responsibility to talk about this in every way that we can safely. I'm not the guy who speaks very safely. I exercise my free speech to the max,
Yes.
but I mean well, and I love humanity, and I want humanity to thrive, including obviously our people. So God bless you all. Thank you so much, Cultured Thug. Once again, your book is at culturedthug.org, and then of course we've got Cultured Thug on Rumble. So, any parting words for our guests?
No, I appreciate the questions. Great questions. Um, Great conversation. Anytime, hit me up. I miss these conversations. I've been kind of like in this Twitter world where there's a lot of new people that are popular, and I was
Right.
getting kind of blackpilled. I was missing old schoolers like yourself and having conversations. I was in this weird world of influencers. I got to get the fuck out of here. These people. So it was good. It was good to talk to someone who I've known and I know is passionate and is true and is a solid dude.
The OGs.
Yes, the OGs. It's always good. Hey, we may have been a small crowd, but we were passionate and we're really about this. And I'll take that over this fake popularity bullshit any day.
I agree. Well, we're still out here, so we're going to make some noise. All right, brother. God bless you, and God bless everyone in the chat. God bless everyone listening to this show. We will win. Stay close to God. Take care.